I feel so disconnected from superhero comics. When I look at this cover, one, it's funny, but two, after a while, it's just like none of it. I would just say it's not that it doesn't make sense what they're doing. It just feels so perfunctory, so empty. Fallen friend, the death of Miss Marvel. But it's like they're trying to make it seem dramatic, and nobody cares about Miss Marvel. And they're trying to sell you on caring about her by having Spider-Man lose his fucking mind on this stupid ass cover. And then they're putting people like Wolverine. Like, Wolverine doesn't care. He probably never talked to, I'm sure he has, but he's probably never talked to Kamala Khan in his life. And I don't know. Captain Marvel looks like Ellen Page mixed with somebody else. It's bugging me because I can't think of the other person she looks like. But Captain Marvel just being on this cover, even though she's been pushed down everybody's throats for years, it still feels wrong. Both her and Miss Marvel look like marketing ad superheroes. They look like the kind of superheroes you design to sell toothpaste or something. Like some kind of window cleaner or something. They don't look like real superheroes. They don't feel like real superheroes. They represent everything that Tumblr and Twitter has done to comics over the past however many years. This whole SJW invasion, they talk about culture war. And I guess if you're invaded, that's part of a war too. But it feels like it's this weird thing where if you're on an island and you're doing your own thing, and then people are constantly just flying by bombing you, but they don't actually want to live on the island with you. They just don't like what you're doing on the island. And it's not because they're like, oh, you have this horrible religion and you're, taking their people and sacrificing them to some, demon or Cthulhu gods. No, they just don't like what you're doing. So they keep bombing you. So you have these anti-aircraft missiles that you're shooting back at them. And it's like, this is a war. But it doesn't feel like a war. It feels like you're fending people off. It's like you got food and flies keep trying to get it and you're fighting them off. You should have swapped them away. But at least in the case of the flies actually want to eat the food, where SJWs don't actually care about the things that they're fighting against. They're just fighting it because they have nothing better to do. They're invested emotionally in what geeks care about. Like, they have this obsession with the kind of women that we idealize in comics or something, like Power Girl's boob window and stuff like that. Like, they care about shit like that. And, comic geeks, we like it because, she looks good or whatever, but it's not that serious. But it's become this, it's become this culture war, which makes no sense because it's like, all right, so before I saw the stupid ass cover, I saw this Ethan Van Sciver did a video about it first. And so I think he showed a couple of tweets, or he showed one tweet, and then I went and looked for it. So the tweet he showed was this person going, hey, so what the fuck were Zub Wells and Nick Lowe thinking by killing off Kamala Khan, the only mainline brown character Marvel has in a Spider-Man book? Shit feels racist and misogynistic. And why on earth was she even in this in the first place? Okay, so shit feels racist and misogynistic because Kamala Khan is not a character. She's not a person. She's just representation. She's just a marketing campaign for marginalized Muslims. She's not a person. So the only way you would react like this to this stupid ass storyline is if you don't actually care about comic books and you don't read it. And it's funny to me how this person doesn't even know. He cares so much about Miss Marvel. He had no idea that she was even in this Spider-Man book. And it's like this dumb thing that, again, if you read comic books, anybody who reads comic books for just a few years knows character dies, they're going to be brought back. That is just a stunt to sell comics. Now, if he paid attention to Kamala Khan at all, he knows that by the end of the year, supposedly, they're going to put out the stupid Marvels movie. So, obviously, seems like they keep doing this. Anytime there's going to be like the last Doctor Strange movie, they killed his ass off. Doctor Strange. Nobody cared. Comic fans were like, why would you kill Doctor Strange off right before his goddamn movie comes out. And in that case, they made a Doctor Strange where they replaced him with a woman. So it's like, okay, that's the thing to do now is, you replace the male hero with a female hero and shove that person down our throats, whether we like it or not. But with this Kamala Khan thing, obviously they're doing it because in the next few months, they're going to have her resurrected in Krakoa Island and say she's a mutant. They're probably going to change her powers so it can be more aligned to the movies. That's it. Like, there's nothing to get upset about. There's nothing to care about at all. Even if they just killed her off and there was no movie coming out, she's going to come back. And to be like, why was she, and she was even in this in the first place, she doesn't have her own series. And where else are you going to put her in? Like, Spider-Man's the most popular comic book out right now. I think it's the best-selling American comic. They could surpass Batman recently. And what's hilarious about that is most people don't even seem to like the comic. It's terrible. I was supposed to do a review of Amazing Spider-Man issue 25. I read the first issue that Zeb Wells did for this run, and I did a review of it. It feels like ages ago. And that storyline that was introduced in issue 1 is finally, I don't know, resolved is the right word, but they finally kind of explained what the hell was going on in issue 25. And it's just as stupid as I imagined, which is why I stopped reading it. But I wanted to... Anyway, who cares? The main thing is just how the only way you can get anybody to care about this is to get the usual suspects on Twitter to act like they care when they don't. And it's even worse with this other tweet that I saw where somebody was like, on all caps, like a sociopath, death not being permanent in comics is not an excuse for killing off Marvel's most famous and beloved Muslim superhero in a book that has absolutely nothing to do with her. If you cared either way, if you killed her off in her own comic, you would still have something to complain about. We know she's not going to stay dead. That does not excuse sexist, racist writing. What's sexist and racist about it? It's okay for all the male superheroes. Superman was killed. Was it sexist and racist to kill Superman? Batman had his back broken. Batman was killed. Spider-Man's been killed. Wolverine's been killed. Jean Grey's been killed. Wonder Woman killed. I think Wonder Woman died and then came back and then died again. Hippolyta was killed. And I would say that killing Hippolyta was more racist because they killed her just so they could make Nubia Queen of the Amazons, because they obsessed with representation. Nubia means nothing to the Wonder Woman comics, but because she's black, now she has to be Queen of the Amazons. Then they made her gay too, so it's like, oh, God. But it's just so funny how these people who don't care about comic books put these weird conditions on it. Like, it's not an excuse to kill her in the most popular superhero book in America. It's like, it's no excuse. Well, clearly they're trying to get as many eyes on this event as possible because they're trying to lead it into the movie at the end of the goddamn year. And they're trying to, and it's obvious, like, we know she's, like, he knows, this fucking idiot knows she's not going to stay dead. There's no reason to make this about race or sexism or anything like that, because you know why it's being done. But this is why listening to these fucking idiots is useless. Like I said, and I always say this, the best argument against inclusion and diversity are the people who push for inclusion and diversity, because they're not doing it because they actually care about having more black, brown, female characters. They only care about putting them in a position that they're happy that they're there, but they don't read their books. And if anything bad happens to those characters, they lose their shit, or they act like they lose their shit. So it's like, yeah, put them there. We don't want them to be actually interesting characters. We don't want them to go through adversity. We don't want them to be treated like any other superhero in comics. Like, oh no, a brown Muslim woman was killed. That's the most horrible thing ever. And it's like, yeah, what about Spider-Man? He's been killed. Gwen Stacy, she's been killed. Like, there's been plenty of characters in comic books who have been killed. Most of them come back, and you know she's coming back, yet you still act like it's a problem just to kill her off. Like, if representation is that fragile, then it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be, I mean, it shouldn't be either way. It shouldn't be in comics. It shouldn't be in video games. Like I, did the whole video about the trans character in Hogwarts Legacy. Meaningless, stupid character. Pointless character. Doesn't make sense to be in the world of Hogwarts. But they put that character there anyway. And they sacrificed, and it's like the worst thing in the world. The game's still really good so far. But they sacrificed their perfect detail to the world to put this stupid character in there. So it sticks out like a sore thumb. But they were more concerned about pretending that they cared about representation than they cared about being committed to, hey, we're going to transport you to this world and it's going to feel like what you read as a kid or whatever, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's not much to say about this. I'm disconnected in the sense that I just don't, even looking at why they're doing it, I don't care. It's not like, well, it'll be good to see Miss Marvel get her, more aligned with the movies. Because I don't care about her in the movies either. Like, none of this makes sense. Now, at least, but even Miles Morales is not popular enough to sustain a book on his own. But it would make more sense even though Kamala Khan treats Miles Morales like shit, it would make more sense for him to be on the cover, losing his mind over her being dead, than Peter Parker. It's like a joke, like looking at him just sniveling and snotting all over the place and shitting on himself about this. And like even Kamala Khan in the background of this stupid ass cover. The cover is terrible. I don't know who did it, but it's crap. But just looking at it, how she looks, she just looks like, yeah. She looks like mildly annoyed that she's dead. Or to make it even worse, that expression on her face could just be disdain for Peter. She's probably looking at him, look at this simp. He wasn't going to get none of this anyway. I don't know. It's it's that thing that we see where the female characters, for no reason at all, shit on the male characters. Now, no reason at all in the context of the story. Now, we know that they do it because there's this weird pathology where in order to try to prop up the female heroes, they feel like they have to shit on the male heroes, which is embarrassing, actually. It's cringe. I don't even like that word cringe, but it's cringe that you would think that you could get away with shitting on the male heroes and that's going to make the female heroes likable. Like that's some kind of propaganda. Like you're going to really sit there, read this comic, watch like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I read a bunch of the trades for that. So when I was reading them, it was like, man, Lunella is she's a piece of shit. Like she's so disrespectful to established male heroes. She was shitting on the Thing. She was sitting on Hulk. Well, it was Gogurt Hulk, but still shitting on him. She was shitting on Doctor Strange and Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan shouldn't even been in that stupid timeline, but she was shit on all the male heroes. But then when Miss Marvel showed up, she's squeeing and fangirling over her the way that Miss Marvel would do Captain Marvel. And it's just really embarrassing because it's like there is nothing that Miss Marvel has done anywhere in the comics or anywhere that Moon Girl will be acting like this. But it's only because she's a girl. That's it. There's no other reason for her to act like that. And it's silly and it's stupid. And comics have been taken over by people who listen to people who don't care about comics, but make all these stupid demands on them. Takeaway from me is Spider-Man didn't act like this when Gwen Stacy died. There's no reason for him to act like this for a character he barely knows. And again, you're not going to sell it to the audience that because Peter cares, you should care. It's silly. Like, most people are just going to look at this cover and go, why is he acting like this? Even in the context of the universe, you could say Peter is a good guy and he cares about people or whatever, and he's got the guilt thing going for him. But it's hard to separate that from just knowing that this character doesn't elicit in this kind of response. Like, genuinely, people don't care that she's dead. And the only people who pretend to care that she's dead only care because she's a brown Muslim girl. They don't care that the character itself has any, context in these stories. They don't even read her comics. They don't even watch her show. They're not going to watch the Marvel's movies when it comes out. They're just mad that they think that comic fans, by and large, hate Miss Marvel because she's a brown Muslim girl. And so they're mad that that character is dead. But the thing is, they're too stupid to even recognize that even the people who don't like the character aren't like really don't care that she's dead. They're not going, yeah, hooray, she's gone. Now, Ethan Van Sciver did that tweet where he said that, but he was just being funny. And, idiots took the bait on that. But Marvel put themselves in a position where you don't care about the characters because the characters have no meaning beyond what they're supposed to represent. So also, just on a story level, what Marvel has done to the X-Men by giving them Krakoa and not removing them from that island, and the fact that that island can resurrect people. Death truly has no meaning. It didn't really have meaning in comic books anyway, but everybody knows, and this is ridiculous, even people who are mad that Miss Marvel is dead now or going to die or whatever for a couple of months, everybody knows she's going to come back. They've taken the meaning of death from storytelling. I don't even see how this can work as a storytelling stunt. It's really just publicity. And I think you need to have people pretend to care that a brown girl is dead, because literally the people who don't like the character don't care that she's dead. And they're not even, it's not like they feel like, yeah, we got one. Marvel finally listened to us and got rid of this terrible character. No, they're just like, oh yeah, they're going to kill her now because the movie's going to come out in a few months and they've made Ms. Marvel a mutant in the MCU, so they're going to bring her back as a mutant and they're going to change her powers up, so that's why they're doing it. So it doesn't benefit anybody. जा तुझे माफ किया, जा तुझे